chance to say sorry. You don't need to take the blame, yeah, it's on me. If I never get a chance to say sorry, if I never get a chance to say sorry, if I never get a chance, you don't need to take the blame, yeah, it's on me. Ghost. You don't need to take the blame, yeah, it's on me. You don't need to take the blame, yeah, it's on me. Let's go! You don't need to take the blame, yeah, it's on me. You don't need to take the blame, yeah, it's on me. If I never get a chance to say sorry, you don't need to take the blame, yeah, it's on me. If I never get a chance to say sorry, you don't need to take the blame, yeah, it's on me. If you never come back, then you'll never know. Can't open up that door and it's stuck closed. Can't even figure out what you're waiting for. But what you waiting for, you don't need to take the blame, yeah, it's on me. If you give yourself another chance, then I'll do the same. 'Cause we've got these broken pieces that we need to erase. If I never get a chance to say sorry, you don't need to take the blame, yeah, it's on me. If I never get a chance, you don't need to take the blame, yeah, it's on me. You don't need to take the blame, yeah, it's on me. You don't need to take the blame, yeah, it's on me. You don't need to take the blame, yeah, it's on me. You don't need to take the blame, yeah, it's on me. If I never get a chance to say sorry, you don't need to take the blame, yeah, it's on me. If I never get a chance to say sorry, you don't need to take the blame, yeah, it's on me. If I never get a chance to say sorry, you don't need to take the blame, yeah, it's on me. It's ruthless shit. What you doing with it? Shorty act a fool with it. If you a wild bad, gotta act rude with it. Yeah. Rose my truck to the moon with it. Get money, I ain't new to this. You wanna reach out to this? You wanna to the moon with it? It's ruthless shit. You wanna, what you doing with it? We don't got time for the bullshit.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome to the first of many Monday morning threat briefings. Jason, I am not pleased to say that it's good to see your ugly mug first thing in the morning on a Monday.
I know. I mean, I had to make sure that my hair looked good, my teeth were brushed, and, everything for you this morning, This was... Whose idea was this?
I think this is a mutual idea. Who knows? Who knows? Beard said chiming in early. Listen, Neil, we came here to hear you not talk. That's right. This is going to be a slight change to our Monday schedule. Jason and I thought we wanted to kick off Mondays talking really quickly, probably about an hour-ish or so, to kind of do a little threat brief first thing in the morning before we got the co-working streams kicked off. So I suckered him into first thing in the morning on Monday, so you get to start your days with some yapping first thing this morning.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We need to start off the week with threat briefs.
We need to start. We can start off the week with threat briefs, and then we can go out on the weekend on Fridays with a bunch of soapboxes. That's kind of how I see it happening. Yeah.
I love it.
100%. 100%.
Well, we might have some soapboxes here in the morning, too.
We might. We'll do our best to keep those constructive, at least. So that's the goal here today, chat. As everybody pours in, we're going to, feel free. You see Outcast and Cypher Enigma. Go ahead and add stuff to the task list. We will drop into a co-working stream after Jason and I get done. Jason and I did comb the news articles for things that he and I want to kind of bring to your attention that we think are the most important to kind of start your week off. We're going to try to make this as constructive as possible. As much as he and I ever do. Obviously, our normal type of stuff in effect, right? Keep chat free of any racist, sexist, misogynistic, elitist, and otherwise toxic behavior. We have zero tolerance for that. On this chat. Huge shout out to my moderators who are here on their Monday morning as well, moderating with us, and keeping chat free of any racist, sexist, misogynist, elitist, and otherwise toxic behavior. We are live across multiple channels. If you are in your respective channel, please feel free to drop any questions about anything that we talk about in chat, and we'll be more than happy to answer them as we go. As this is the first time that Jason and I have done this, we're going to try to, again, make this as rapid fire, but also informative as possible. Our goal isn't to just shout from the top of the world the news headlines that we've got, but we want to talk about the things that we are seeing that we think are super important for you to pay attention to. Things have seemed to really align where Jason and I come on to do these threat briefs. As we see things, then we see them hit the news articles a few weeks later. So we're going to try to get ahead of some of that as much as possible and try to feed you with more information than we know what to do with. Jason, I miss anything there?
We have been actually pretty darn good at predictions. I think we keep talking about stuff, and then wouldn't you know it, like the following week,
It shows
2
up in the
weeks
news.
later, shows up in the news. It's like, man, you almost kind of think that we might know what we're talking about, but maybe not.
Well. So speaking of that, I'm going to start off I'm going to start off with my favorite topic on AI. And on Friday, I gave chat a little bit of a rundown on the Accenture layoffs, and Accenture being, kind of the massive consulting company that it is, and kind of its stance on AI. I talked to chat about that on Friday. Yesterday, there was an article that was put out, and I'll read the title of the article for you that we can talk about there. Deloitte, Australia, so this is Deloitte, Australia, to refund the government because it admits that it was using AI in a $440,000 report. And apparently that was filled with massive amounts of errors.
Wait a minute, you're implying that AI makes errors.
That's right. Apparently, it's not completely okay to trust your entire consulting business and all of its reporting to AI. Imagine that. I don't know who would have thought it. But it's going to cost Deloitte to have to refund a $440,000 contract.
Well, I mean, you should have had some precautions there, like maybe read the report that you're going to supply to the government and make sure that it's legit, because it is worth $440 million.
Well, so on that note, there were 3 academic, and this is hallucinations 101. There were 3 academic citations in the report that did not exist. They were completely and totally made up by AI to support Deloitte's findings in the report. And as a result, the entire report was wrong.
Well, I mean, I guess maybe people should continue, firing their staff and laying off in lieu of AI.
I know we say that tongue in cheek. I think that's. Yeah. I think Beard is phenomenal for this. Like, I think he highlights this when he chats. This is just a sign of human laziness, right? We are going to have a new tool, and that new tool is going to make CEOs like Accenture be like, great, right? We're going to be able to do all these efficiencies. We're going to be able to upskill our entire folks to AI, and then you've got folks like Deloitte, who are like, we're going to take that to the extreme, and we're just going to write fake reports.
Yeah. Charge people and then get caught later on afterwards.
Yeah.
I sort of wonder, where you kind of see AI getting used by even our government here in the United States. And, companies like Palantir and others are, winning government contracts. And you just wonder, how much of that they're being careful with. You cannot still, as much as we love AI and working with AI, and we feel like it helps us do our job, but you still can't rely on it 100%. You have to read what it is outputting, because you're right. The hallucinations, you're not going to get rid of them. And so if it's making up stuff, I mean, why wouldn't you read that?
I think what's going to be challenging for consulting companies when it comes to AI is that consulting companies are very research intensive, right? One of the appeals that I had at PwC, and when I would go talk to folks at PwC, was that you had the entire strength of the firm at your disposal, which meant that you had hundreds of thousands of consultants across the entire globe, where you could consolidate a ton of intellectual information that could then be used by the rest of the firm across the globe, which sounds almost exactly like an AI and an LLM.
Right.
What I think you're seeing as a leading indicator of a report like this is what happens when you're used to trusting whatever information comes out of the firm, because I can unequivocally tell you, ain't no associate got time for that. Right. An associate says, hey, go. What are other healthcare companies, Fortune 100 healthcare companies doing for cybersecurity? They're going to put that stuff into a search bar inside their SharePoint or whatever it is inside their organization. They're going to read a few different reports, and then they're going to consolidate that information into their own report for their own client, type of thing. And so why do that when you could just ask an LLM? And so they're predisposed to that already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then totally trusting the output. They briefly read the first maybe few sentences, paragraph, and then think that all the rest of it is hunky dory and let's go. That inherently is a problem. I think you're right when you said this, and if we use the word lazy, I don't inherently believe that everybody is necessarily lazy, but I think that you can become
your expectations of humanity is a little too high.
I know. But you think about, like, you might become numb to the fact that if something's the same, well, eventually you quit checking it.
Yeah.
This is not to leave the AI topic, but when you think about how many times have you and I on stream talked about people's dependence on EDR, or set it and forget it type of security, right?
Yeah.
IT people and cybersecurity people across the space love the fact that, oh my gosh, this thing comes with default policies, and I can put this into a default protected policy. You guys know what you're doing, and then here we go. I don't have to take care of this every day or build custom stuff, right?
Yeah.
And we even do that in BitLift, in some ways to help people out, because we hear it all the time. So, but when you think about where this is going in the space, I think if you haven't heard, in the last couple of weeks, some of the major topic is the EDR freeze.
Yeah, right? Yeah, that's right. We were going to talk about this a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, go into this.
So I think that when you think about your EDR agent being put on a little coffee break for the next 5 to 30 minutes, because Windows error reporting can actually pause the EDR agent. It doesn't stop the service. It doesn't turn it off. It doesn't make any alarm bells go off. It just says, "Hey, go take a break," as if the EDR agent's going to go take a smoke break, and come back maybe 30 minutes later. And what this is the funny thing is EDR agents weren't looking at this before.
No,
didn't take this into consideration. And this is happening to almost all the EDR agents that
every EDR is vulnerable to this.
Is vulnerable to this. So
yeah,
if you're sitting there and you're saying, "Oh, I got SentinelOne, or I got CrowdStrike, or I got Windows Defender," the Microsoft Defender product that Microsoft loves to push because they say it's the best. Anyhow, all of the EDRs are susceptible to this.
Yeah, and it's super easy to pull off too.
Yeah. And it gives the threat actors, that window of time, 5 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever they want, to have free reign in that EDR or that server or that environment to go do whatever they want and test, maybe even perform functions, download some data. I mean, they get free reign for that time period. Yeah. It's kind of like if you left the door unlocked, walked out, went to the grocery store, and came back. You just let a threat actor, into your place for that time to do whatever they wanted to do, and maybe even to just drop a payload and then wait. What
are you advising folks to do, or how are you changing some of you guys' configs to now be looking for these types of EDR freeze leading indicators?
Well, you've got to do audit logging. Number one,
Mm.
you absolutely have to do audit logging. You have to understand when activity like this is taking place. So if you're not looking at the logs of the system, it's awfully hard to detect this at all. Um, but I mean that to me that is the crux of it. The other part is if you actually go and do some POCing of your environment variables yourself, stand up a little sandbox and see if you can get this to replicate in your own environment. That is a big suggestion, in my opinion.
Mm. This is a real one. If you've not paid attention to this one, if you're a pen tester, you should go research this TTP. I think this is one that you should be testing pretty regularly. Whether you're doing straight up pen testing, whether you're doing adversary simulation, this is one you should definitely be looking at. If you're a defender, you definitely need to be out there, checking your configs and looking at your auto logs for this one. This is one that's absolutely hitting a lot of folks here.
To get specific, like what Weir does is it dumps spiking and event logs, right? And then you can sometimes hone in on event ID 1001, and you can look for suspended processes like CSFAL con service.exe, and also be looking for USB loaders with malicious DLLs. Those are some real world things to be. But again, folks, this comes down to event logs. Yeah. I know that I talk about event logs so much, but event logs literally are the proof in the pudding about what's happening on the machine.
And let's be honest, like this isn't a hammer and a nail scenario. I know you do, MDR type of activity, but that doesn't necessarily mean that event logs aren't the only thing to be looking at, but they really do still provide a shit ton of value.
Yeah. Oh, totally. I mean, unfortunately, here we are in 2025, and we still hear from time to time IT people say, well, we aren't logging that. And we even hear people say, we don't have event logging turned on for that device. We don't have any place to send it. And it's like, oh my goodness, I just wish that statement. Let me tell you, I entered the space in 1996. Probably, this was like after you entered the space.
You're old, but Jason. You're old.
Yeah, roll back to 1996, pre-2000. People literally at that point in time, they thought logs, we don't need logs unless you were a developer. Like I literally had people at that point in time that had been in the space 20, 30 years say, oh, we only use logs for looking at development type scenarios.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is when they were plugging switches directly into the internet and firewalls were just coming on the scene, and you had to convince everybody that firewalls were important. But anyhow, audit logs and logging and looking at event IDs and making sure that you are sifting through those event IDs, not by manual, because you will be getting millions of event IDs. But you need a system to help you. But there are ways to detect this EDR freeze, and it's not with the EDR. I can promise you that.
We used EDR to detect the EDR. I used the stones to destroy the stones.
Yeah. This isn't rock, paper, scissors, But I want to highlight something here that I hope that is, if it's not obvious to you, I want to make it obvious to you, is that a lot of these like CrowdStrike and these EDR cybersecurity companies, you would say, because I'm hearing people say, well, we had the EDR agent,
right,
and we had this and we had that, and we still fell victim to this problem, right? Well, here's the thing, is that EDR agent, that firewall, the VPN, whatever it may be, it was built to protect in a certain context, right? That's why CrowdStrike had the problem with the NPM packages, and they were hit with the NPM packages because nobody, no cybersecurity company today was looking for NPM package issues, right? From a cybersecurity perspective. And so next thing you know, CrowdStrike themselves, what's the irony of that is also hit with the issue, right?
Yeah.
And so, but what I'm hoping that I'm pressing upon you guys to think about is that we cannot proceed forward in the security space with this idea and concept of like, oh, I have EDR, or I have firewalls, or I have VPN, or I have Zscaler, and I'm funneling all my traffic. Like, listen, wait. You have to ask yourself, what if the attack comes from a different methodology than in which these things were built? Everything was built with a context.
And I'll say this too. Like, I think what Jason's talking about, chat, right, is really that, like, there is no singular technology, and there is no magic bullet, and there is no magic strategy to protection. And I'm going to take this opportunity, Jason, to pivot on you to my second one that I had for this morning too, because we see this. You know, everybody loves to tout on how secure, you know, Linux is, and how secure, everybody likes to shit on Microsoft because, I mean, hey, I do it too. I love shitting on Microsoft as well, right? But I mean, and while it's not a direct vulnerability of Linux per se, Red Hat did get smashed over the weekend, not through some massive 0-day, not through any type of crazy exploitation, but hackers gained access to Red Hat's GitLab repos and stole a bunch of private source code, documentation, customer information, about 570 gigabytes worth of compressed data from Red Hat through authentication issues with their GitHub.
Authentication issues.
Yeah, authentication issues, because they allowed somebody to get compromised and had singular access to their GitLab repos, and they were storing basically all of their customer information in GitHub that adversaries were able to get a hold of from their GitHub.
Why? What is the use case of storing all of your customer info in GitHub?
I could be super cynical about it and really shit on a lot of my dev folks, right? Because, when you think that everything has to be done by command line, and you think that repos are, God's gift to data storage and data structures and everything like that, because that's what when you're a hammer, everything's a nail. That's right. I knew I'd get Chris on that one. I knew Chris would come in on that. I was like, wait a minute. Right? But it's true, right? It's true. When you're like, Git pull everything. Like, I just want everything up in GitHub, right? You just think that everything belongs in GitHub, and you're just so used to command line putting all of this stuff up in GitHub, and everything's there. And then next thing you know, you've got, somebody grabs a hold of a set of credentials and they got access to it. Now, here's the thing. Yes, that's no different than SharePoint or Google Drive or Jira or ServiceNow. I get it.
Yeah.
But that's my cynical thought process as to why all of your customers' proprietary data is being stored in GitLab. Yeah.
We went through this a couple of years ago, and I don't know what happened, but if we use, like, you use the software package that it's best meant for, its context was meant for. So you use SQL for SQL data.
Yeah.
You use blob storage for blob storage type applications.
Yeah.
You use, Git repos, for your data. Not your data, but your development.
Your code.
And like your code.
Yeah.
We need to keep this going. Like
it's compartmentalization. It's compartmentalization at the end of the day.
Yeah. I mean, you don't go around, wearing your socks on your head because you think that they also look like a hat.
Yeah, specifically, so I saw somebody ask for it in chat, right? Access more than 28,000 internal repos and stole customer engagement reports. Not code, customer engagement reports.
Which, if I think about customer engagement, there's a lot of good data in customer engagement. You are documenting their environment. You're writing all sorts of discovery and gathering information. Like I could just imagine what's in there. And obviously, I'm making a guess.
Yeah,
but
Red Hat has not, as of
man.
this writing, Red Hat has not responded to it. Let me. So I've been on the receiving end of the WePro breach, of the Deloitte breach, 2016, 2017, 2018, around in that area. If you're in a SOC and you're hearing about this for the first time and you're a Red Hat enterprise customer, I'd be on the phone with whomever you know at Red Hat asking for details on this. They are claiming that some of their clients' infrastructure has been accessed as well as part of this compromised. And so I'd be on the phone with anybody I know at Red Hat, and I could tell you, like, I was ruthless. I was like, give me one reason not to fire you as a vendor right now.
As a vendor, yeah.
Like there is no reason for it whatsoever.
Yeah. I mean, it's see, this is the problem. I feel like there's a repeating thing happening here, right? What was it? 3 or 4 weeks ago now, the single person that had access to NPM packages, they were broke into. Now Red Hat broke into single. Like, how can one account or one authentication method be broken into and have all of this access? I thought this went against the policies that we were supposed to be building.
So let me tell you this, because I saved this post for this very conversation. I knew we'd have this very conversation right here. I think it's a focus. Like, I think we saw, like, if we think about warfare, right? There's almost always some leading indicators of attack, right? When we talk about, 9/11, and I'm not here to hash out the politics or whether it was a conspiracy, whatever the case is, but we saw lots of leading indicators leading up to 9/11, right? There was the bombing of the World Trade Center from the basement. There were, the intelligence reports. There were, folks getting plane lessons and things like that, like all that type of stuff. There were leading indicators. If we apply the same thing to cyber warfare, we saw, right, SolarWinds, right? We saw Log4j. And those things happened like a year apart from each other, a couple years apart from each other. And now we're seeing, in this year alone, we've had 4 or 5 major supply chain, GitHub code-related type of activities. And I pulled down this post from Reddit on our cybersecurity a couple weeks ago that said, supply chain security is impossible when every dependency has dependencies, and those dependencies have vulnerabilities, and those dependencies have dependencies that have vulnerabilities, and you start to get into this N plus infinity rabbit hole when it comes to supply chain vulnerabilities.
Yeah. I think, though, that you're onto something that we need to press into here, though, is we need to ask ourselves, what are the leading indicators here? And what are the lagging indicators? And sort of put those into, they're going to be, I think, in my opinion, at this moment, they're going to be dependent upon each one of your organizations.
Yeah.
They're going to be environment specific, depending on how you consume IT in your company. But I think everybody at some level are going to have leading indicators, and they can take these things and say, okay, I am starting to see where the market's going, where the shift is going, what is happening in cybersecurity, and I need to get ahead of this for my company. And then there's lagging indicators that, you sort of need to see. Everybody needs to understand history, because it repeats itself. That's why that phrase is so true. Is like, because criminals in our space, specifically speaking, criminals will say, gosh, that worked really well. It's been 3 or 4 or 5 years. It's kind of died down, the buzz. Nobody's really looking at it anymore. I'm going to go and update some of that code, and I'm going to reuse it. Right?
Or that only got stopped because of this one thing. So how do I fix that one thing so it doesn't get stopped the next time?
Right. Right. You know, um, because I keep looking at things, and you and I keep, we're so, our ears to the ground, I think, is as good as it possibly can be. I don't know about you, but I consume a ton of information like every day, every week, that I'm like, hey, did you hear about this? And people are like, well, no. But I'm like, well, it's probably because I spend, 4 or 5 hours a day just reading information. Um, and it's hard for, if it's hard to do that sometimes, if you're hands on keyboard, doing that type of stuff. But here's what I would say is we need to understand. You and I talked a little bit about S bombs 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
I
That's
think we
that's
did a.
part
I
of
think
the
we did a.
battle.
We did a short on that one that's up on LinkedIn as well. If you missed that one, Chad.
Yep. And so here's the thing, though, is you do need to understand how your company is consuming, software. I would advise you guys to at least sit down for, and have a tabletop exercise around what are our dependencies. Kind of figure out how far down the chain it does go. Right? It might open up your eyes to, okay, let's put that up on the whiteboard. How do we mitigate some risk here if this thing does go off the rails? Because let me tell you again, the companies that are going to get left behind are the ones that aren't talking about this.
Yeah,
I can promise you.
I think you've got a great point on this, right? Because I think, there is a ton of information, hence the reason why we do more and more of these streams, why we're going to try to bring more and more of this content. But I do think that everything has to be taken in context for the organization in which you're working on.
Yes.
I hate to throw more acronyms in an already crowded field, right? But this is why we talk about priority intelligence requirements and understanding the things that are important to your organization so that you understand where your eyes need to be focused so that you can have the maximum impact. Now, for my threat intelligence folks that are out there that are hearing this, right? Like, this is probably second nature to you, where it's like, if you're in healthcare, you could care less about, Iranian infrastructure attacking financial institutions, right? Because that's just not a fundamentally important thing to you. However, I do think that software supply chain is something that applies pretty universally. If you consume software, it's probably pretty important to you. And if you're writing your own software, it's probably pretty important to you.
Yeah, I don't know an organization that doesn't consume software today.
Right.
I mean, I think if you're telling yourself that, I think you probably should sit down, have a cup of coffee, and think about that a little bit more, because I think everybody's consuming software today.
Apparently, Chad, I'm just letting you know, I'm already getting text messages, not from Carmen this morning, but apparently I got a text message. That is a lot of aggression for a Monday, sir. Hope you can come down from that anger high. Listen, we're just spitting facts this morning, okay? It's not aggression. It's just, it's hype on cyber, baby. It's hype on cyber.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if anything, like, we are trying to make sure that you guys are hearing all of this stuff that we're hearing and seeing, and we're highlighting the important parts, like the stuff that can really get you.
Yeah.
If you're not over here looking at this might be really come out of nowhere and get you.
Speaking of one that's going to come out of nowhere, I got one more before I flip it back over to you for you to hit one, because I had just told Chad on Friday that they should be paying attention to Oracle.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure if this was on your list or not.
It was.
Was this one on your list too? Yeah. So all right. So I'll let you start off with this one then, since it was on both of our lists.
So it is a critical 0-day exploited by Clop ransomware in August, with fresh waves in early October. And here, October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, stealing massive amounts of data sets from victims. Oracle, right?
Yeah.
Unauthorized access logs in Oracle's EBS modules, network traffic to Clop C2 domains, and variants. It's like their suggestion on this, and everything that I could read was like, patch immediately if you're on unpatched versions. And I'm thinking to myself, like, if you're on Oracle, You're probably not running into
No.
the CEO, CFO's office and saying, I need to shut down the company and like patch everything at the moment, you know?
Let's be honest, right? Like Oracle's not like Windows, right? There's an entire business process. Like most people who run Oracle are running shit on Oracle that if you shut it down will cost millions of dollars, will tens of millions of dollars. There is a high likelihood it might not even come back up. If you patch it and you don't patch it with the right incantation to the patch gods, you might very well lose every database artifact that exists inside of Oracle. Like it is that.
Yeah.
It is that type of environment when you get an, oh shit, you need to patch this now from Oracle.
I mean, if you think about it, there is a lot of companies, retail organizations that run Oracle across the entire environment, right? Everything from the POS systems to their back end. And so, yeah, if you're not testing the patch ahead of time and you're making sure that in an environment, a staging environment, that the patch and everything works correctly, and you push this out to prod, like otherwise you're sitting here with a 0 day inside your production environment and you're susceptible.
Well, and I saw this. I don't know if you saw this when you were gathering your notes for today. What they had said, the company noted that customers must first install, get ready for this, chat, the October 2023 critical patch before they could install the patch from this weekend for the 0 day.
So this insinuates that people may not have patched for the last 2 years. Oh my gosh.
And now they've got to do an emergency patch though the weekend for a 2-year-old patch and a patch that just hit yesterday.
I think that this would call for like some Red Bull and lots of people on call. Oh my goodness. Like that would be that. So
when I talk about threat intelligence, right? If you like, this is one of those times where if I were consulting with companies, there is a public POC that exists out there. You can go find the public POC out there, and it is actively being exploited in the wild. To me, I don't give a shit what the CVSS score is. I don't give a shit what operating system it is. If I've got it and there is a public POC available and it is being actively exploited in the wild, you call in Fifth Fleet, like you DEFCON 1 this, like you're like on it type of thing.
Yeah. And I would, I'd write this up. I'd highly write this up. Highly recommend you write this up and you showcase this to the CEO, CFO, HR. Multiple people need to know what's going on, and you need to inform them and educate them as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
With a lot of these things, because C-levels, management suite, they are relying on you as the IT people, security people in the trenches to inform them of risk, as time passes. Each day passes, the business is changing and morphing every day. But I would highly recommend that you write this up and inform and educate other people.
Yeah.
And make sure that it's well documented so that nobody can ever come back to you and say, you didn't tell me about this, and this is a huge risk to us, and why didn't you advise us on a direction? And then you can say, oh, contraire.
Yeah.
I have this email right here, this PDF in which I sent out to 15 people,
Now, I'll tell you that that's not a get out of jail for free card. Like, let's be real. That's not.
It's a step in the right direction.
Like, if I were CISO of an organization that was getting smashed by Klopp because of a Oracle 0 day.
0 day? Yeah.
And I sent an email to the CEO, the CIO, and the board of directors that said, like, hey, I'm telling you guys that this exists out here, and your teams aren't doing shit. First and foremost, my political career would be absolutely destroyed.
Well, I get that. But I'm just saying the adverse side of that is not communicating.
Oh, I'm still gonna lose my job as a result of it. Like, you're still losing your job when that happens.
Yeah. That
Like,
Oracle had a 0 day.
Yeah. Like, that is CISO scapegoat 101. Like, when that happens.
Right. Yeah. So be careful how you communicate it. Communicate it with the right intentions. Communicate it with recommendations. Maybe suggest a meeting. Have all your ducks in a row.
It's not me saying you shouldn't do all that stuff. I'm just saying, like, don't think that it's going to be like this magic, your hands are wiped clean type scenario.
Yeah. No, the first step is to open another browser tab, go straight to Grok, and write up your AI report, and then remove any hallucinations, and then fire that baby off.
And then fire that baby right on off to the C-suite, baby. Go for it. I do think that there is merit in documenting. Like I could be cynical about it, but I do think that there is merit in documenting. There are ways to do it tactfully. Maybe we could do an episode sometimes, that kind of talk about, like, how to politically correctly tell an organization that they are absolutely, utterly effed in an email. Yeah. That could be a fun episode to do all together. But
I'd love to do that. That'd be awesome.
Speaking of not awesome, I'm going to pivot on you really quick. I got an unfortunate DM over the weekend from a friend of mine in Ohio. And it kind of coincided with an article that I had pulled up to chat with you about today. And you and I have had this conversation where we kind of talk about, like, hey, we definitely want to talk about things that are happening in the enterprise, and we definitely enjoy things that are happening in the enterprise. But at the end of the day, like, cyber is a worldwide problem. Cyber is a human problem. Cyber affects anybody, like, whether you're an enterprise, whether you're a person, whatever the case is. And so I got a DM from a friend of mine over the weekend, and it said, hey, would you be interested in looking into an email that my son's friend got telling him to pay $200 or they were going to send nudes to his friend, something along those lines. And he said, I guess he ended up paying. And then I just happened to see an article yesterday. BBC tracks down sextortion scammer targeting teenage boys. These sextortion scam messages have been going on for years. For literal years. These are the ones, if anybody's ever got them or heard from anybody who's got them, where they say, hey, listen, we've put malware on your computer. We've been watching your webcam for some unknown number of times. We've caught you doing sexually explicit stuff. Pay us this amount of money or we'll leak it to all your contacts, all your friends, everybody on your email list. And it's usually some modest amount, like $200, that people, would be like, oh my God, it would suck if I had to give up $200, but maybe it's worth it if I, didn't have, some crazy thing, leaked on the internet. And the reason it works, number one, is it's fear-based. Number two, It is statistically proven that a lot of people do consume massive amounts of questionable material, sourced from the internet. And so there is that faint likelihood that there is a fear that they could have indeed possibly gotten caught doing something that they didn't want leaked out on the internet. So they immediately freak out and immediately send that stuff out. And that is equally as important as Oracle 0 days. I would argue that this situation and scammers taking advantage of not just anybody, but teenagers, boys or girls, elderly folks, that is as big of an epidemic in cyber as Oracle 0 days.
Yeah. I concur. I mean, this is part of the cyber that I think is like you're saying, equally as important, because it's dealing with us humans directly.
Mm-hmm.
I have a funny note on this, and then I'll come back to serious. But I got one of those text message emails about 6 months ago, and my response back was, go ahead and send the pictures that you have to my friends, because they're going to see my picture if you got it, and then they're going to delete it right away. And then I'll probably never hear from those friends. But in all seriousness, so laughs and joking aside, I do believe that this is a major problem. So,
Yeah.
you know, teens and kids today that don't quite understand. I took a picture, I sent it through a free app or an app that, you know, I didn't pay, or I just saved it to my iCloud photos, and they don't realize that their iCloud is protected very well. And so if their iCloud does get breached, that's a problem, right? And so I think that this is actually probably the unsung problem that's happening in the space that doesn't get a lot of attention.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I was at an FBI presentation a little while ago, 4 or 5 months ago, I'm trying to remember here. And the FBI agent said, there are extremely convincing campaigns going on targeting, like you said, the elderly, and says, I have your granddaughter here, knows her name, maybe even text messages a picture, and says certain things like, hey, your granddaughter needs help. She was just in a car accident. She's incapacitated. I'm here with her because I saw the accident happen. I need you to send some money, you know, to help with her medical bills. The hospital is asking for money. And first thing the grandmother wants to do is help their granddaughter. And so they're on the phone, you know, just following the instructions of a criminal. And in that moment, they're not pausing because they're very emotional and it's fear-based. They're not pausing and saying, hey, wait a second. Let me try calling my granddaughter or grandson. Let me try calling my son or daughter and getting some other people involved in on this before this gets out of hand. Right. And everybody that I talk to, I highly advise, check the source. Call around, talk to some other people, and make sure that the phone call that you're receiving is truly legitimate, you know?
I want to kind of read a bit from this article, just because I want chat to understand, like you know, there was a reporter who was able to interview this young man from BBC that they arrested, and I want you to hear just how cold and callous the conversation was, right? So you know, this individual met the perpetrator. He laid out the mechanics of the sextortion with a matter-of-fact ease. You open a female account. This is a quote from the perpetrator. You open a female account using fake names from fake generators. It's a site where you can get names of people from the country that you want. Once the profile is set up, the targeting begins. The boys on the other end of the screen become nothing more than usernames to the scammers, messaging hundreds of people a day, hoping one of them will send them cash. The reporter says, I tell him this sounds ruthless and could ruin someone's life. The perpetrator replies, quote, I don't feel bad because I need the money. That's it. There
you have it, folks.
That's it. There's no feeling from these folks at all. It is strictly money generated. They absolutely just are going after money, as much money as possible.
Yeah. And I would say that is the root foundation of what we're dealing with across cybersecurity in general. I don't know if you believe this, but I believe that if you think about the root foundation of why we are fighting cybersecurity so hard, so much, at so many levels today, it is because people in other countries need the money or they can get the money, right? So they need the money. They're in a country that they have figured out how to work these scams or attack people and use ransomware and other activities to get money. But if you think about the other part, they can get money. So I'm coming at this from the angle of we have been so vulnerable because we don't take the time. Like I when I leave my house, doors are locked, windows are locked, garage doors closed, um, security monitors are set, right? All of the things to keep my house as secure as I possibly can be. But if you are an individual that walk out of your front door and you don't look back and make sure the door closed and make sure the door locked and your windows are locked before you leave for the day and you do all these things, right? We have to do certain activities each and every time in order to make sure the place is locked down. You take that to a digital perspective. And then if you take this one step further, I don't like what the cybersecurity insurance industry has done for us.
Why did you invoke cyber insurance this morning? I thought we were coming toward, we were going to crest, we were going to come over the hill to a nice little moral of the story, and now you went to cyber insurance.
Well, it's because it's sort of anything that you write language around and you insure somebody for a certain amount. Now it leads to, I know that there's a pot there that I could dip into.
Yes.
If I do X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
If I do these certain activities and I can get them to pay.
Yeah.
And this is the problem that cyber insurance has invoked, right? This, if you read your cyber insurance policy and you understand how they're coming up with the language, and oh, by the way, the insurance companies are hiring cybersecurity experts too, because they need to play both sides of the equation.
Mm-hmm. Yep. 100%.
And go ahead, man.
I was going to say, like cyber insurance, like I've been in that game, a lot. And I absolutely hate what cyber insurance has done to our industry, because like insurance isn't in the business of protecting consumers. Insurance, just like every other business, is in the business of protecting shareholders. And their best case scenario is to not have to pay out a claim. But businesses love cyber insurance because then they get to defer risk, whether they admit it or not, to simply say, we don't have to worry about that because cyber insurance has got us covered.
Yeah. I think like this one, I 6, 7, 8 years ago, think back with me, 2015, 2016, cybersecurity insurance wasn't really popular. There were some companies that were, really, there was only like one or two companies. I think it was Lloyd's of London, and it was
Aon.
The other Aon, Chubb. I was thinking of Chubb.
Chubb, yeah.
Chubb,
Yeah.
Well, they came at this from a perspective of like, hey, we need to learn more. We need to understand what's going on inside your business. And if they're publicly traded, you're right. They are there to protect their shareholders' interest and keep them safe and secure. This has ruined our industry, because what's happened now is you could be doing all of the right things, and if you didn't meet a certain line, or they will figure out how to legally not pay your claim.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I wrote an article about this after WannaCry, because Zurich had, this is ultimately what led me to getting hired at Mondelez. Zurich had denied Mondelez the claim on their ransomware incident for WannaCry because they cited an act of war, because somebody in Congress had attributed WannaCry to Russia, even though it was never a declaration of war, but nobody had ever said like it was a wartime effort or a wartime act or anything like that. But because they heard somebody say the words on Capitol Hill, Zurich was like, oh, it was an act of war, therefore we don't have to pay for that incident. I wrote about this because I thought that was a horrible precedent to be set by insurance. But on that same note, just a couple years before then, I'd actually sat at a dinner in London with some folks from Lloyd's, with some folks from Aon. Nobody from Chubb was there. And I'm not going to disclose how much we were paying for a premium at Abbott for our cyber insurance. It was 9 figures. It was a lot. The insurance company said most of the people who actually activate their insurance program are small to medium businesses, like the BitLifts, like the Queries, like the the companies like that who can't afford to pay $1 million BEC, the ones who can't afford to pay $1 million ransomware incident, right? So they're taking premiums, taking 9-figure premiums from companies like Abbott, and paying out $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 checks to companies like the BitLifts and the Queries and the whatnot, and just making money hand over fist.
Yeah, it's really, really nuts, man. I don't like. I'll say it again. I just don't like what cybersecurity insurance has done to our industry.
Yeah.
I have no problem with them hiring cybersecurity experts. They need to protect their insurance company as well because they're faced with the issues as well. But what they have used they use those cybersecurity experts to also make sure that they don't have to pay out claims.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is kind of like bringing in, a doctor and you're trying to figure out, hey, was there malpractice in, keeping me alive? Well, after you're dead, it's sort of irrelevant, and so, your family's left, kind of fighting the fight. But I know I'm going off on a rabbit trail here, but the idea is that insurance was supposed to insure you in the event of a problem, an unforeseen incident. If it was foreseen and I could have prevented it, I wouldn't need insurance. But we live in a world, especially in this particular world, where a lot of things are unforeseen, and we need some help to back us up. Yeah. So
yeah. It's cyber insurance is one of those things where I agree with you. Cyber insurance, and here's the thing: there's no cyber insurance for grandma. There's no cyber insurance for this teen who got popped for $200, right? From a sextortion scam, right? There's no insurance there. So there's actually there's not even protections for the common people. It's just we want big corporate money. Oh yeah, this part pisses me off. This part pisses me so off about our industry.
So go one step further on the teen and young adults. We have a lot of higher education colleges and universities as customers, and so one of the things though that we see is the job campaigns where somebody is a freshman, sophomore, maybe a junior, whatever in college, and they are looking for an internship or they're looking for a job, and they are looking for every possible way to get into a job that's paying them money.
Mm-hmm.
We have seen these emails because we're collecting the IOCs and the information and the data off of them. But these emails are coming in to college students saying, hey, if you send $175, $250, $500, there's tiers of a program that we run, and we can find you a job and place you at a job with guaranteed pay, right? And then they list names of companies that they're working on behalf, almost as if they're a recruiter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so here's this site, pay this money.
Yep.
We prefer bank transfer because there's no fees. They give these reasonings along there. And so
that all sound legitimate to a kid who's got a grand total of 16, 17, 18 years of existence in this world.
Of life underneath their belt.
Yeah.
And they don't talk to their parents about it.
Yeah.
They know that they need money. They're sitting there in their dorm room or whatever, thinking about their college debt. And they're like, I need to get a job.
Yep.
And I have a couple $100 in my savings account. I could pay for this and get a guaranteed job.
Yep.
I can't tell you how many students we have talked to literally crying on the other end of the phone, that they basically just sent off their last little bit of money to this scammer,
Yeah.
scumbag,
Yeah.
whoever the person is, and there is no job on the other end of that email. It's just a complete scam. And so if you are a college student, I would whether you're at lunch, coffee, tea, whatever, share the word. Like,
Yeah.
there are no guaranteed jobs. You need to go through the regular channels. And then, oh, by the way, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Check around.
One of the last things I'll say about this, and I got one more topic I want to hit you with before I send you off to do your real job during the day. Ever since I've gotten big, and I don't say that from a bragging perspective, but over the last 5 years of streaming, there are two common themes of messages that I get into my DMs. There's obviously the one which is like, please tell me what's the best and easiest way to get into the cyber industry. The second unequivocally has been, I've gotten scammed. Can you help me? Is there anybody on this planet? I've gotten not just from cybersecurity professionals, not just from cybersecurity applicants, not just from college kids. I've had wives of people reach out to me saying that they've got scammed, that their husbands have gotten scammed, that their mothers have gotten scammed. It is depressing at times to look at the DMs that I get on Instagram. All of the people who get popped by scammers and are just asking for help.
Yeah.
It's very sad.
And
okay.
It's after the fact.
So I got one more for you. And then I'm gonna let you go. I got one more for you. This is gonna be a quick take. So we've been asked on this stream before. We've got a fantastic cryptographer, mathematician viewer that tunes in all the time, and quantum attacks, quantum computing has been on the radar almost as long as AI has. People have asked me, should we worry about quantum breaking encryption? Should we worry about the internet going down with quantum computing and things like that? Signal, the famous messaging app Signal, has just announced that they are doing a new cryptographic defense against quantum attacks. So Signal announced the introduction of the sparse post-quantum ratchet, which sounds like a video game, which is a new cryptographic component designed to withstand quantum computing threats. Jason, how worried are you that quantum computing is going to destroy everything you know in cyber defense?
Can we end the stream now?
I did this because I knew you were a major conspiracy theorist.
I do think it is kind of funny to me that we have sort of forgotten about quantum computing. That AI has sort of like bubbled up higher than quantum computing, even though quantum computing has been around since, I don't know, 2000s.
Yeah.
I do believe that it is another accelerator to the cybersecurity woes that we're facing. I do believe that it will help threat actors. Now you can buy quantum computing with a credit card. Cloud service providers are offering quantum computing based on just a credit card, and you can use and consume what you want. But it definitely can accelerate, and I do believe there is probably conspiracy theories. The thing is we were like, oh, that's definitely a conspiracy theory, and then we're like, oh crap, that actually became true. That actually happened, and so I actually do believe that these are one of those areas where like this is probably going to come to fruition.
How far out? A year? 2 years? 3 years? 10 years?
Man, as fast as everything is moving right now, I'd probably give it a year to 18 months, maybe sooner.
Chad, I'm on the complete opposite end of the spectrum with Jason on this one. Like I don't mind fighting Jason on this one. No.
Okay, so today is October 6th. 10:03 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Mark this. Grok, Claude, put a stamp right here. That we will come back to this.
I think that quantum will be a conversation at some point in time in the future. Absolutely. I think that we are still. Listen, I got CNBC up on the iPad right here. I've got, they just announced AMD opened with a 30% bump because OpenAI just announced a partnership with AMD because they cited explicitly that they need all the computing power that they can get to get to the next level.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so there is not enough chips, there is not enough GPUs, there is not enough power. There are people who are saying that OpenAI alone will put the power requirements of New York City and San Francisco to shame.
Yep.
We're so far away from quantum computing. We're so far away from quantum computing.
So here's the thing, is I think if you look at the landscape, they are doing everything they possibly can. All of the major cloud computing companies, whether you've got Microsoft, Amazon, Google, are all wanting to build their own power plants. They will get the power that they need one way or another. They will either build it or they will procure it or something. It will happen because they do not want to let anything get in the way of stopping them from building the product and getting to the outcomes. So, and if you think about it, they're all buying and getting investments of billions of dollars.
They are.
Would it be? So I just can't wait till we see like the first company. Well, here's a question for you: which company will be the first company that gets $1 trillion investment?
$1 trillion investment?
I'm just saying, man. We're seeing all these companies get 100 billion, 200 billion, $300 billion investment.
Oh, that's a good question.
I mean, now that the government owns a little bit of Intel and you see everybody coming and helping Intel, they're buying into AMD, they're buying into NVIDIA. Who's the chip company that we're not talking about?
I mean, I could think of lots of chip companies that we're not talking about. We're not talking about TSM.
We're not talking about TSM.
I mean, I wouldn't mind $1 billion investment in my portfolio wouldn't mind $1 billion investment in TSM. I'm just saying that.
Yeah, but then you wouldn't live stream with me. You'd be like, in Florida on the golf course every day.
I mean, listen, I think every chip maker is on the docket for investment.
Broadcom.
Yeah. Sonic's got it. Broadcom, TSM, Apple Silicon, Micron, right? All of them.
So in my opinion, you need all of them in order to build what everybody wants to build. You need Micron for memory. You need TSM. I mean, TSM builds.
TSM's the underlying silicon for almost everything.
For almost everything. I was trying to think.
Not financial advice. Not financial advice, but I'm just saying. If you know, you know.
But yeah, TSM, I think I read a report that they made like somewhere between 80 and 90% of the chip consumables, right? Mm-hmm. So they're supplying to Broadcom, they're supplying to NVIDIA, they're supplying to Intel, they're supplying to AMD, and the rest of them. And then we're a little bit off topic.
We are a little bit. I know. I got you on a rabbit hole on this one.
you did, but this highlights supply chain.
Yes,
this highlights supply chain. So I'm just saying, like, we have to understand, take these little conversations and then come back and apply them to cybersecurity. When you build a over dependence on something or someone,
I think they call that a bubble. I think they call that a bubble, Jason.
Is that a bubble?
I think they call that a bubble.
Is that like sell high and not
not financial advice? Not financial advice.
Right. Yeah. But
All bubbles pop.
all bubbles pop. Yes, I agree. But you know, th- when I look at this, though, think about the way that cloud computing. A lot of people in the beginning said cloud computing was going to be a bubble. Was this actually going to take off? Right? Was cloud computing actually going to take place? And cloud computing has done nothing but taken off. And cloud computing has, if anything, further, it's ingrained everywhere now.
I don't necessarily think that just because we invoke a bubble, that doesn't mean that it's going to go away forever. The internet was a bubble in the 2000s.
Right.
And it popped.
Stayed.
And it stayed.
Yeah.
Cloud computing
Right.
was a bubble, and it stayed. I'm not saying that
Right.
AI being a bubble is going to mean that AI is going to go away. But you have to get through the hype cycle. That's why the hype cycle exists. And you have to either hope that millions and millions of people don't lose their job and money when the bubble pops,
Right.
because the bubble will pop.
Well, so wait a minute. How long in your mind do you think that we're in this bubble? Do you think we're at the peak of the bubble right now, or do you think that the bubble has got more room to grow?
Every time I think the bubble is about to pop, something new happens.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I mean, like, let's think about it for a second here.
We're totally down a rabbit hole. We are absolutely in Alice in Wonderland right now.
Yeah, we just need the hats and the bunny rabbits. But think about this. If everybody just got, 100 billion, 200 billion investments, that's a lot of runway. At the same time, they're buying a lot of hardware, right? Mm-hmm. They're going to stand all this up. My prediction, I know you didn't ask me, but I asked you your prediction. But my prediction is they've got several years of growth. And here's the thing is
you think they got several years of growth before a bubble pops?
Yeah.
Ooh,
yeah.
Okay. Like when you say several, I hear 5 to 10.
I'm thinking of like 3 to 5 to be more specific.
Okay.
I think 3 to 5, because here's the thing is from the product standpoint, the product has still got plenty of room for growth. Every week, people are figuring out new ways to use AI, and AI is coming out with new ways of usage, right?
I don't think that that's the definition of a bubble, though. I think the definition of a bubble is when the hype and the reality of the matter coalesce together to bring expectations back down to a normal human level.
Yeah. I don't disagree on that side. I guess my head was going to the consumption of the bubble and the hype products that are there. If the consumption and the products stay in the marketplace and continue to be consumed, although you may have a bubble pop in a 10%, 20%, 30% kind of come back to earth moment, I think that there's going to be a continuation of it.
Let me pivot on you just a little, because I think of it slightly differently. We've got companies, we've got enterprise companies making money hand over fist on AI. Now,
right.
My conspiracy theory hat is that you've got two types of companies out there right now building on AI. You have companies who are like, YOLO, fuck it, put a ChatGPT wrapper around it and sell it for billions of dollars.
Yep.
And you have companies who are like, okay, we need to build something meaningful and sustainable. I think in scenario one, the first company that we have that has a major negative shareholder impact, when they realize that the billions and billions and billions of dollars they made was nothing more than a ChatGPT wrapper, that'll be the pop of the bubble. That'll be where expectation and reality, because they will have touted all these advanced features, they will have touted all these efficiencies, they will have touted, how AI has transformed their business model. They would have done everything under the marketing sun to talk about how AI was awesome when all they did was wrap everything in a ChatGPT wrapper. They didn't actually build any net new capabilities.
Yeah. I mean, take for instance, Dropbox and other cloud storage companies just wrapped up Amazon S3, right? And
there's a difference between building on and claiming it's your own invention. Dropbox makes no qualms that they build on Amazon S3.
Right.
I'm not talking about people who are open about we've built on whatever. Right. I'm talking about people who have said, we do AI, we've built all these awesome AI capabilities, we've sourced this internally, and it's nothing more than a ChatGPT wrapper.
Well, come back to this for a second then. What do you say to CrowdStrike, who has built their product on all of these other NPM dependency packages that aren't their own?
Well, what do you say to the construction worker who buys his lumber from some other lumber distributor to build houses? Like, everybody has to have materials to build something. I'm not talking about the use of materials with which to build your capability. I'm talking about the blatant manipulation and deceitfulness that packages something as your own, when in reality, you're basically just using somebody else's product. And
that's what we're finding out. That's what a lot of software companies are doing.
I don't see NPM packages. I don't see software supply chain. I don't see that any different than using TSM to build NVIDIA graphics chips.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree, but at the same token, like, the TSM chips, they're selling them the wafer.
You know the difference in this conversation? We know that TSM sells to NVIDIA. We know TSM sells to AMD. We know TSM sells to Micron.
They're transparent.
That's right.
They're transparent. They're honest.
That's right.
And they showcase it up front.
That's right.
So why can't we get that in CrowdStrike? And why can't we get that in, SentinelOne? And why can't we get that in Cylance and everybody else that literally is just packaging up somebody else's code and shipping it as theirs?
Because then it wouldn't make them unique, and that's the definition of a bubble. Like, I think, listen, if you ever ask me my opinion, do I think cyber is in a bubble? I've thought cyber was in a bubble for a really long time. I think if I were to put on my super conspiracy hat, AI and quantum computing will bust the cybersecurity bubble, because they will prove that what we do is absolutely fucking useless.
Well, what am I supposed to do when this like, you just took away the only thing that I know how to do.
That's what makes bubbles hard.
All right. Man, you might be alone next week, Monday.
Jason, we went over a little bit. As you can tell, Jason, like hopefully you guys got a ton out of this. Jason, I love doing this. I'm excited for this every week now, Jason. I'm absolutely excited for this.
I am too.
Go ahead.
I am too. I mean, listen, I know that we take some rabbit trails here and there, but we always come back to cybersecurity.
Yeah.
And try and deliver, the most important information that you guys need to be listening to, aware of. And we know it's not possible for everybody to be out reading all of the headline news, right? So,
or getting opinions from a couple professionals like us.
Yeah.
Let's be real. We're kind of opinionated.
We're opinionated. I'm not sure if I use the word professional, but opinionated. Definitely.
Jason,
I refrain from using subject matter expert.
That never came out. That never came out of my mouth.
Yeah.
I do opinion. So listen, here's the streamer trick. I say I'm opinionated. That way, when somebody says that I'm wrong, I can be like, that's just my opinion. Like, of course I'm wrong. It's just my opinion.
Yeah.
And then I have another one that I say all the time, too. You can steal both of these as a CEO and see if either of them work for you. The second one that I use is I'm rarely wrong.
I will have to think about that. That's a good one.
I'm rarely wrong. I'm
rarely wrong.
I'm rarely wrong.
On my opinion.
I'm rarely wrong at all. When I state anything, even if I state it as a fact, I'm rarely wrong. It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Jason, so chat, hang out. We're going to transition to a co-working stream. I've got a couple of updates for the team. First and foremost, I've got Matt coming on Wednesday. Matt and I are going to talk about AI work on Wednesday. He spent a lot of time talking with VCs, as you can imagine. So we're going to do a ton of AI conversation on Wednesday and kind of hear what the business is saying around AI out in the business sphere. More on this conversation as well. We've got giveaways happening this week. And then we have Tea with a Hacker on Friday. And then Jason and I will be back right here, 9 o'clock next Monday, doing more Cyber Threat Brief. We love this so much so. So everybody hang out as we transition to co-working. Jason, you want to send chat off and transition us to co-working?
Yeah. Hope everybody has an awesome week. Go do some fun stuff. Tackle these things that we've talked about today. Build some relationships. Send some scary emails to your CEO and CFO. And loved hanging out with you guys. Thanks for being with us. Otherwise, it would just be Neil and I talking to each other, and that would be weird. So really appreciate you guys hanging out with us. And can't wait to talk to you guys again next week on Monday. And have an awesome week.
We'll see you.
See you.
All right, chat. Where's my work one? There's my work stream. All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Wow, that light's super bright. We'll do this. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.